Hey everyone, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and today I'm here with my Horror A to Z video. Now I actually got prompted to do this from Retro Horror Wayne, who recently uploaded his Horror A to Z, and I thought it was a really cool idea. Quite a few people have done this sort of video before and I've just never really got around to doing one for myself. So this was a lot of fun choosing a horror movie from each letter of the alphabet. I do sort of apologise in advance because some of them I kind of had to choose because it was basically the only thing I owned within that letter. So that is why there's about 3 on this list that I really wouldn't have included in the list, but I kind of had to because of the letter. But anyway, yeah, let's get into it. So if you guys are not subscribed to Retro Horror, please check him out. He was the person that actually gave me the motivation and idea to do this video. So I'll be leaving his channel link in the description box below. So yeah, if you're not subbed to him, please check him out. He's a great guy, big into horror, and he pretty much uploads daily, so there's definitely not a lack of content in regards to him and his channel. Anyway, I'm just going to start with the letter A and work my way down to the letter Z. Alright, so letter A, we have American Psycho, what I consider to be one of the greatest serial killer movies of all time. Christian Bale was absolutely amazing in this one. It's got a really good storyline about corporate America. The soundtrack's amazing and it's got some pretty nasty kills within this movie as well. So yeah, that is American Psycho for the letter A. For the letter B, we have Bad Taste, and this was a very easy pick for me. I love this movie. I've talked about it many times in my previous videos. It's my favourite Peter Jackson film of all time. It's probably my favourite splatter genre movie as well. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I really wish that someone would release this on Blu-ray. Next up, for the letter C, we have Children of the Corn, and this is a movie that's always been a big favourite of mine. I was obsessed with the Children of the Corn series during high school, and it's definitely played a really big part in me being the horror obsessed fan that I am today. Letter D goes to Day of the Dead, and really there couldn't be another movie that I would have chosen for this letter, to be honest. It's my favourite zombie film of all time, so that was a no-brainer. Letter E goes to Eden Lake. Now, I was actually going to pick Evil Dead originally, and then I thought, nah, that's too easy. I wanted to talk about Eden Lake for this video. This is a fantastic cat and mouse style horror movie from the UK about a young couple that have gone away for the weekend, and they end up getting terrorised and stalked throughout a wooded forest area by a group of local teenagers. Very intense. The teenagers are absolutely insane, and it's very violent and brutal throughout. Definitely recommend this one if you've never seen it before. For the letter F, I wanted to show Fourth Kind, which is a pretty underrated sci-fi horror movie. It's really well done in the aspect that it's sort of done with like real style documentary footage and film footage, and the two blend in really well. Essentially it's about a group of therapy patients from Alaska who have pretty much all experienced the same alien abduction, and it's pretty much them just talking and going through therapy to try and figure out what is going on. For the letter G, we have The Gate. I would consider this to be pretty underrated. It's one of my favourite 80s horror films. I know it's just had a recent release on Blu-ray from Vestron, so hopefully a lot of people purchase it, and yeah, this movie gets a little bit more love than it's getting, because I do consider this to be really underrated. But yeah, this is a great 80s sort of kid-themed horror movie with some pretty cool creature effects. For the letter H, I went with Housebound. Now, I could have easily gone with Halloween, but I wanted to go with something different for this video, so Housebound it is. This is a fantastic horror comedy from New Zealand. I think it came out in 2015, and yeah, it's just amazing. New Zealand definitely hasn't disappointed me whatsoever when it comes to horror. They've released some pretty good horror movies over the years, and they've got a knack that they can blend in horror with comedy extremely well, and yeah, this movie's no exception to that. It's got a lot of different genres. It's got comedy, family drama, and a haunted house element within this film, and it's just fantastic. For the letter I, we have Inside. This is my favourite home invasion film. It's amazing. It's also my favourite French horror movie, so this was a very, very easy pick for me for the letter I. For the letter J, there really could be only one film that I wanted to talk about, and that is Jaws. Pure classic, and yeah, I really couldn't do this alphabet list without including this film. For the letter K, I went with Killer Party, and this is pretty underrated in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't help that this one doesn't even have an official release. This is the Burn on Demand disc from Warner Brother Archives. And like Bad Taste, I'm really hoping someone actually gets the rights to release this one on Blu-ray, because I think it deserves it. Really, really unique and different kind of slasher film, really. The first half of the film is essentially your straight up traditional slasher film, but then the second half takes a pretty major turn of events, and I don't really want to spoil anything, but it kind of turns the film on its head basically. Really, really well done, great movie, so that is why Killer Party was chosen for the letter K. For the letter L, we have The Lost Boys, and this was really, really easy. It's my favourite vampire film of all time, so a very, very easy pick for the letter L. To me, this is what 80s horror is all about. It holds up extremely well. It just screams everything I love about the 80s, and yeah, it's just a great film. For the letter M, I went with the Maniac remake. This is what I consider to be the greatest remake of all time, and one of the few remakes that I prefer over the original. Elijah Wood, surprising to me, pulled off the role of Frank extremely well. It's shot in POV style, which is pretty unique, and it works very, very well for the type of movie it is. Very, very violent and brutal, and the soundtrack is amazing. For the letter N, we have the 80s classic Night of the Demons, and again, like The Lost Boys, this is pretty much everything I love about 80s horror. I love the setting, I love the characters, and the effects are fantastic as well. For the letter O, we have Orphan, and this is a film that I don't really hear too many people mention, but it is a Killer Kid style movie with a pretty interesting twist at the end. Great characters, really, really well done. It's pretty creepy, and as I said, the twist at the end is pretty awesome. For the letter P, we have People Under the Stairs, and I'm really, really glad this movie got released on Blu-ray, because a lot more people have been picking it up and checking it out, which is great, because I've always considered this to be probably the most underrated 90s horror movie that's actually really good. I remember renting this out back in the day quite a few times when I was a lot younger on VHS, and I've always been a massive fan of this movie. So yeah, People Under the Stairs for the letter P. Next up we have, for the letter Q, Quarantine, and this was one that I was sort of forced to pick for this letter, because it's pretty much the only movie that I could see within my collection that started with the letter Q. Not really much to say about it. It's basically just an American version of Wreck. For the letter R, we have The Reef, and surprisingly, the quote on the cover is correct. It says the scariest shark thriller since Jaws, and I've got to say that is correct. This is the best shark movie since Jaws. It's an Australian horror film, and it's so well done. It's very, very simplistic. There's not really a lot to this film at all, but it's shot really, really well, and it's just got a great bunch of characters. There's not really that many characters within this movie, but it has a real sense of fear and intensity throughout, and yeah, it's just extremely well done. For the letter S, we have Sleepaway Camp, and this was pretty easy pick for the letter S, to be honest. It's a fantastic 80s slasher. I don't really need to talk about it. One thing that's always impressed me, other than the twist ending, which is pretty cool, which we all know about now, is the fact that the characters are actually the right age. So this essentially is a summer camp slasher film with sort of young teenage kids. It's a young teenage summer camp basically, and instead of your traditional early to mid-20s playing younger characters, the actors are actually the correct age, which is great. I've always been a big fan of this with this film. It's always been a big draw card for me, and yeah, I just think it's a great slasher. You have a young child killer who is actually doing the killings, and there's some great kills in this, and as I said, the twist ending, which we all know about, was pretty shocking for the time. For the letter T, we have Tales of Halloween. Now, originally I was going to go with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but no, that would have been too easy. Then I was going to go with Trick or Treat, but everyone knows about that, and I mean, that is a fantastic horror anthology, but I've got to be honest and say I've been enjoying Tales of Halloween a little bit more recently. This is a fairly new anthology. I think it's only like a couple of years old now, or it might have only... Yeah, I think it's a couple of years old now. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. It's got 10 short stories, and most of the stories are all really, really good. A lot of them have some nice little nods and throwbacks to previous horror films. Like there's one short story that's very, very similar themed to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And yeah, overall this is a really, really well done horror anthology. For the letter U, we've gone with Uncle Sam, and like People Under the Stairs, I definitely consider this to be a pretty underrated 90s horror movie. It is a slasher. It's pretty unique and interesting, just from the storyline, the characters, and of course the 4th of July setting, I guess you'd say. It is centered around 4th of July, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I've always been a fan of this film, and that is why Uncle Sam was chosen for the letter U. For the letter V, we have VHS 2, and the first two VHS movies are two of the best modern horror anthologies out there, but I do prefer the sequel slightly more, so that is why I've chosen to show it within this video. I think the stories are slightly stronger and a little bit better done in my opinion, but yeah, VHS 2 is fantastic. For the letter W, we're going with Wolf Creek, which is my favourite Australian horror film. And I will actually be doing a separate video going through my Australian horror collection, because a few people have been asking me about some Australian horror movies recently, so stay on the lookout for that video. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Back to this video. Yeah, the letter W, Wolf Creek, was chosen. This is actually based on a real-life serial killer called Ivan Milat. John Jarratt plays the villain in this as Mick, and he is one of the creepiest villains I have ever seen, especially his laugh. His laugh is heaps creepy. So, yeah, Wolf Creek for the letter W. For the letter X, we have X-Ray, and this was another one that I was kind of forced to choose because it was pretty much the only film that I could see that started with the letter X. It is a hospital-themed slasher. You're Next. This was another one that I was forced to include in this list, and honestly, if I didn't have another horror film starting with the letter Y, this haven't have even come close to this video. I'm not a fan of this film, to be completely honest. I was almost going to leave it out, but I wanted to go through the alphabet correctly, so I do apologise, guys, that there's one movie in this list that I'm not really a big fan of. It was definitely a disappointment, and there were a lot of wasted opportunities. A lot of the characters really, really bugged the shit out of me with a lot of the choices they made within this movie as well. And last, for the letter Z, we have Zombie Flesh Eaters, or also known as Zombie or Zombie 2. This film has a bit of an interesting story with me, because it's taken me quite a few viewings to really, really like this movie a lot. But it is now one of my favourite zombie films, and one of my favourite Italian zombie films especially. So yeah, I'm really glad that I gave this repeated viewings, because I really appreciate the film a lot now. Okay guys, so there you go, that was my horror A to Z. If you guys feel like doing a video response to this, that would be absolutely fantastic. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.